Texas Baseball Report with your host, Rip Griffin.
And back to the wall. And gone. 6-0 Houston. He's after the first one. It's over Presley. Altuve bare hands and throws. Big time in game one. Belongs to Houston.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to this live Twitter Space edition of the Texas Baseball Report. We try to do one at least once a month, kind of talk all things baseball here in Texas. My name is Rip Griffin. I am your host. You can follow me on Twitter at RipGriffin3. You can follow this podcast at Texas Baseball Report on Apple, Google, or Spotify. You can follow on Instagram. You can follow on Facebook and also on Twitter at Texas Baseball Report as well. And if you want to catch all the articles that we have written, you can head on over to www.texasbaseballreport.com. There you can check out all of our work as well. So on this episode, we're going to be talking a little bit of Houston Astros baseball. It's going to be, since they are not playing on this Thursday night, we are going to kind of recap and kind of see what they've done so far this season. It's been a pretty phenomenal season. We've had lots of people that talk about Astros baseball all the time, Astros podcast and whatnot. So that's what we're going to do here, is kind of set the tone for a little bit. We're about a third of the way through this season right now, where the Astros are currently sitting at 36-21, 57 games so far. So, but the Astros are doing fairly well. There's a lot of things that we need to see more out of, and we'll kind of talk about this on this Twitter space once. Maybe we might get a couple more people to kind of join in on the conversation, where it's not just me just rambling right now. But yeah, I mean, we'll kind of touch on a lot of different things. Like I mentioned, the Astros are doing great. I think it's just one of those that they are going to need to kind of make some moves here as we get closer to the All-Star break, which is coming up. The trade deadline is also coming up as well. It's going to be one of those that we got to see what they're going to do to make that push to October. I think there are a lot of key moves that still need to be made, because in certain areas, like, for example, first base, the catching position, what's going to happen with the possibility of Lance McCullers coming back? What's going to happen when Jake Myers comes back in center field? Are they going to still stick with Jake Myers? Are they going to go with a platoon with Chas McCormick and Jose Siri and Jake Myers all at one? But it's going to be interesting to see how everything shapes out for the Astros. I mean, like I mentioned, they're doing great. They are still, in my opinion, the front runners when we look at the American League West, because this division is probably one of the most weakest divisions in the American League, aside from the American League Central. The Astros are the only team in the AL West that are currently above 500. Every other team is below, and you've got the Angels that are sitting in second place at 27-31, but they've also lost 14 straight. I don't understand how that happens. But then you've got the Texas Rangers that are starting to kind of come into their offensive production a little bit more at 26-30. They'll play again tomorrow on Friday, kicking off a weekend series against the Chicago White Sox. So that's going to be a good series, as well as the White Sox are not really doing too well as far as what we all expected at 26-29. But they're still 5.5 games behind first place Minnesota, who's actually, they were tied with the Yankees this evening, but the Yankees have taken the lead 8-7. They're on the top of the 7th right now. So the Twins are doing good. They got Carlos Correa back. So a lot of things, especially in the American League, the Yankees are pretty much dominating the AL East right now, which is interesting. We didn't expect that to happen right away. They've got some good timely pitching. Hitting has been good as well. So it's going to be something that we need to see what they're going to do come the rest of the season, because they obviously cannot keep up with this intensity and this play for the remaining, what are we, almost 100 games, 103 games no, we're about 106 games probably still left to go. Never was really good at math, but I kind of guesstimate over 100 games still left. So Tampa Bay coming in at 34-23. They're 6.5 back, but hey, anything can happen. Toronto was one of those teams that we thought would be a little bit more, at least towards the top of the division. They're sitting right there at third. So a lot of different things to kind of shape out for the American League. If the season were to end today, which would be on Thursday, we would have the Yankees being the number 1 seed, the Astros being number 2. And with this new expanded playoff system, then the Astros and the Yankees would have first round byes. So that's something to kind of think about as well as we get closer to October. So, but a lot of good things for the Astros as far, like I mentioned, they do have the second best record in the American League behind the New York Yankees. So right now, offensively for the Astros, you're looking at, they're sitting at 22nd place as far as all teams with a 235 batting average. So it's not the best, but this offense, we just haven't seen much of it yet. And I think when they begin to kind of start to figure out things and kind of get things, whatever mojo they need to keep going, they'll get it going. I think once this offense takes off, it's going to be fantastic. And these guys are going to just completely distance themselves, shoot for that number 1 seed going into the postseason, because that's what you want. You want that first round. Well, you'll have that first round bye if you're one of the 2 top teams in the American League, but best record gets home field advantage. So that's what you need. But I mean, when we look at the past postseason experiences with the Astros, mainly 2019 and 21 World Series teams, they had the best record. They had the home field advantage, but it didn't quite work out for them. Maybe there's something to be read into that. I don't know. It's possible, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what the Astros right now. But from a pitching standpoint, I mean, gosh, this team has been fantastic. And of course, we can't talk Astros pitching without talking about Justin Verlander, because he has been absolutely phenomenal. Just coming back post Tommy John, which we're going to continue to say that over and over again until the season ends. And I mean, when you look at this team as a whole, I mean, collectively, I mean, Justin Verlander has been sitting at the top of just about every category that there is as far as pitching is concerned. When we look at the top leaderboards when it comes to pitching, I mean, you look at Verlander right now sitting at 8th with a 2.13 ERA. Wins, he's tied for first with 7. When we look at other things, hasn't really had any shutouts yet because he really hasn't had the chance. Well, he has had the chance to go the distance, but I think he does have a complete game. I'll have to go back and look, but innings pitched, he's at 72.1, which is tied for 7th. His average is 183. His WHIP is at 0.84, which is first in all of Major League Baseball. His winning percentage is at 778. Excuse me. That's only a few ticks behind Yankees Garrett Cole and Jameson Taillon. So you cannot talk Astros pitching without talking about Justin Verlander. Absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely, he's been doing great. It's going to be fun because I think the rest of this Astros rotation, pitching, bullpen has been much improved. Now, there's still a lot of work to be done, especially when you look at guys like Jose Urquidy, who has just needs to find his location. He needs to be able to pinpoint, place his fastball, work off his off speed. I think that's what's struggling with him right now, because we all saw it. We all saw it in 2019. Now, we cannot compare 2019 to 2022 because there have been a lot of things that have changed since then. But when we look at pitching, and we think his ERA should be better than what he's pitching. I mean, his record, he's 5-3 right now, but he's got a 5.04 ERA in 11 games that he's started this year. 55 innings pitched. He's only given up 33 runs, 31 earned runs, 11 home runs, but the walks have been kind of a little bit more excessive compared to the other starters. Like Christian Javier, he's had more walks. He's got 16. Luis Garcia's got 16. So I take that back. His walks have been kind of in check. He's only got 12. But there's other things that we need that Jose Urquidy needs to focus on that I believe will allow him to be more effective. Because if not, then the Astros have a guy down in Sugarland right now that everybody's heard of, and that's Hunter Brown. Hunter Brown is one of the most, well, I would say he is the top prospect in the Astros organization now. He was ranked in the top 5, but now he's kind of bumped himself up. He is the number 1 pitching prospect. And you've got to give him a lot of credit because he's ready. And it's going to be interesting to see what the Astros do in order to kind of alleviate some of this rotation woes kind of towards the back end of the rotation. Because the thing is with Hunter Brown, he may seem like he's major league ready, and I think he is. But there's a risk that the Astros are possibly I take it back. They don't want to take the risk because if you bring him up too soon, even though he technically is ready, and he has a setback, he struggles, then he's going back down to Sugarland. That could set back his progression and possibly his timetable to actually return to the big leagues. So it's one of those things. Do they bring him up? Do they not bring him up? What exactly are they going to do? It's tough. It really is tough because Hunter Brown is one of the most dynamic pitchers down there in AAA right now. You know, just kind of looking at some of his stats. Now, this is through all of AAA baseball. So from the from the International and Pacific Coast leagues, right now Hunter Brown is sitting 5th with a 2.39 ERA. He's got some his strikeouts. He's 3rd in strikeouts with 69. Some other things that he just continues to dominate pitchers, and he's averaging 8, 9, 10 strikeouts a game. So he's definitely ready. His average right now is a 193, which is very similar to what Justin Verlander is. Justin Verlander is kind of hovering around that kind of range in the 160s, the 190 range as far as average. And then you kind of look at some other things. His whip is a 1.14. So he's top 10. He's ranked number 9 in AAA right now. So Hunter Brown is the guy that I believe that the Astros are going to have to really figure out what they want to do, because Brown is going to force the Astros' hand, just like Jake Myers did last season. He forced the Astros' hand to call him up, and I think that the same thing is going to happen with Hunter Brown. He's going to force the Astros' hand, and they're going to have to make a decision as to what they're going to do, because this team is definitely primed to make a postseason run, especially a deep October run. And when we look at kind of where the teams are as far as rankings, projections, the Astros are pretty much right in the thick of things as far as the postseason. Especially when we look at Fangraphs. Fangraphs is probably my best go-to for any type of stats and whatnot to kind of see where each team is going to be. Like right now, the Astros have a 99% to make the playoffs, just by the way they're playing, just based on their record. We're almost at the 60-game mark, so that's kind of where the Astros are. So 99% to make the playoffs, 96.9 to actually win the division, which is pretty obvious when we look at this American League West division, which is one that The Angels are still second place, which I talked about that, and I'm not going to talk about that again. But 88.9% to clinch the first round bye, but 12.2% to win the World Series. That is pretty phenomenal compared to the Yankees 11.6, the Mets 10.8, and the Dodgers at 16.2. So they have the second best percentage to win the World Series. That's pretty impressive right there. Looking at this Astros team that continues to just do things and continue to just play excellent baseball. There's going to be some things that they are going to need, like I mentioned at the trade deadline. We'll see. There's a lot of guys down there in AAA, Pedro Leon, Corey Julks, guys that are continuing to force the Astros hand to do something. And that's the tell all, if all, whatever you want to call it, that the Astros need to do to get over that, win that World Series. So, but yeah, I mean, it's great to see the Astros as they are right now and sitting in first place. And I really think that they just need to get going. There's going to be some pieces to the wheel that they're going to have to add eventually, because you've got things like the catcher position, for example. Let's touch on the catcher position, because there's been a lot of talk about get rid of Castro, get rid of Martin Maldonado, bring up Corey Lee. Corey Lee may be ready as well, because he is a dual threat catcher. He can obviously has good defense, but his offense, his bat is there. But I still think he needs to get more at bats in AAA before they call him up. I really think we'll see Corey Lee. We will see him in 2022. He'll probably be around a September call up, because that's just what the Astros need to do, just to get him more experience. And then once Martin Maldonado and Jason Castro, those two guys are off the books after 2022, then the team is Corey Lee's to take that at that point. So, but yeah, they've got they've got Pedro Leon, they've got Corey Julks, like I mentioned. So there's a lot of talent, sitting there in AAA right now, ready to come up, and definitely they are making a push very, very soon, and we will see all of them as well. So, but like I mentioned, let's talk about Jason Castro and Martin Maldonado. Now, there's one reason why the Astros have Maldonado and Castro. Maldonado is one of the best defensive catchers that is playing right now, aside from maybe who would be another defensive catcher, Yadier Molina, one of those future Hall of Famer. Now, I wouldn't put Hall of Fame in the category for Martin Maldonado, but from a defensive catching position, Maldonado is one of the best. But when we look at stats wise, the production is not there offensively, and that's something that's got to be a concern for, of course, Astros fans, and of course the organization as well, because you want some production there in your 8 and 9 hole, and that's where Castro and Maldonado have been, but they haven't done anything, and it's kind of scary, because we need more production. And I think when you got guys like Maldonado, for example, who's batting 131, with only 4 home runs, 13 RBIs. Now, he's not one that's going to wow you with power. Okay, he's got a 203 on base percentage, a 246 slugging, 449 OPS, and that's at 145 plate appearances right now. And then you've got Jason Castro, who's batting way below that Mendoza line at a .91. although he doesn't play a whole lot. Maldonado takes about he's got probably about an extra 15 games on Castro, so they kind of have been splitting time a little bit. But looking at Castro, he's been in 27 games, 55 at bats. Does not have a home run, 1 RBI, 7 walks. But his on base percentage is a 203 slugging, 127, OPS 330, and 64 plate appearances. Regardless if you're getting the at bats or not, or the playing time, it's still questionable. Now the Astros could go out and possibly make a trade. There's been a lot of different trade talks or trade scenarios, I should say. Wilson Contreras from the Cubs is probably one of the best primary prospects. I wouldn't say prospects, primary targets for the Astros to possibly go out if they do decide to go out and make a trade to get one of these to kind of beef up their catching position. Now, who would they have to give up in return to get to make that trade work? And I would hope that they would not give up their top prospects, which would be Corey Lee, Hunter Brown, and Pedro Leon. Maybe Corey Julks. They've got a couple other pitchers that are starting to develop more and more and get better and better, like Alex Santos, for example. He's definitely one that could possibly be on the trading block. And it's just because the Astros, if they want to go out and win a World Series, they're going to need to beef up that lower part of the lineup. Now, obviously, we need to see more production from Alex Bregman and Yuli Gurriel, 2 guys that have been a part of this team for so long and have been such a fixture within this lineup, but now they're not doing anything. This season alone, when we look at Bregman, Bregman's always been slow to start, but here we are hitting about that 60-game mark when really this Astros team should offensively, be starting to break away from the rest of the pack as far as in the American League and kind of start to submit themselves as that best record in the American League. We're slowly starting to see it. It's starting to creep up a little bit, but we need more production from Alex Bregman, who's at 220 right now with the batting average. In 55 games, he's got 6 home runs, 28 RBIs, but he's drawing a ton of walks, 33. So, but he's also struck out 30 times, which is 8 fewer than Michael Brantley, a few fewer than Jose Altuve. Aledmys Diaz, who doesn't play a whole lot, has struck out less than Alex Bregman. Yuli Gurriel, who's right there, struck out. He's got 30 strikeouts on the season. And he's only got 3 home runs, 15 RBIs, and he's batting .218. So he's he's below that Mendoza line as well. Bregman is right there on it. We need more production on the corners. Now, who do you go out and what do you do in that situation? Now, obviously, you can't trade Bregman or Yuli Gurriel. That would just cause a what storm amongst the fans. Even though the fans probably would not be objective to it, considering the amount of production that we're expecting to see these 2 guys get. But the Astros definitely need to get more wins for the pitching staff. The pitching staff has been, someone sent me a message on Twitter saying the Astros need to come back wins, need to get more wins. There we go. With this pitching staff, this has been their weakness since 2017. So, they give up when the runs are down. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's frustrating, especially when we look at this team and how well it could be. Jeremy Pena has been the light within this lineup right now, especially when you look at your Ozzy Altuve and Jordan, who got his contract. So that's good. They locked him up for the next 6 years. So he's batting .299 right now. 17 home runs, 38 RBIs, 28 walks this season. So he's drawing the walks as well. And we kind of look at Alvarez and kind of look at the stats between him right now. He's at the top of his game right now as far as home runs. He's ranked second behind Aaron Judge, like I mentioned, with 17. We can look at some other stats on his on-base percentage. He's .395, so he's ranked 8th in the league right now. Slugging .630, ranks in 3rd. OPS at a 1.025, second place behind Aaron Judge. I think there's going to be an MVP battle. I'm going to say that right now between Judge and Alvarez. Rookie of the year in 2019 for Alvarez. It would be nice to get him a MVP to add to his list of accolades, because he is one of the premier designated hitters / left fielders playing the games. A lot of raw power. We've all seen that. But like I mentioned, Bregman's tied for 6th with 33 walks. And he's in that mix with Jose Ramirez of the Cleveland Guardians and Jesse Winkler of the Seattle Mariners as well. So Bregman is drawing the walks, but we're just not seeing any other type of production. And I'm curious to see what his on-base percentage is, because I know I just mentioned it, but so .339. So he's getting on base a little over 30% of the time. So kind of tough. It's kind of tough to watch. Where back in 2019, his on base percentage was a .423. That was the highest it's been since he's joined. Been in the big leagues since 2016. So he's kind of right around where his second best season was in 2018, where he was at a .394 OPS on base percentage. When he had 31 home runs, 103 RBIs. So that 2019 was that MVP season where he was second, only behind Mike Trout. So, but definitely we need more production out of these key positions. If we don't, then the Astros are going to be definitely making some moves to shore up these positions. And it's unfortunate because the Astros really, from offensively 1 through 9, they can dominate this division. They can dominate this league. Pitching will only get them so far. If we don't get a balance between offense and pitching, one is going to kind of start to give way here pretty soon. It's going to be the pitching. We need a good balance for everything for the Astros to stay on course and stay where they want to go and get to where they want to go, which is that World Series for Dusty Baker. So, but a lot of things the Astros need to do. It's a matter of what they want to do to get to where they want to go. I think we'll see some moves here soon. I don't anticipate in June, but I think once we get to the All-Star break and we get to the second half of the season, we will see the Astros probably make some moves, make some trades. We'll see some key players that we saw do so well in AAA there in Sugarland. More than likely, they will probably be moved, just because if they want to get good trades, they're going to have to give up some top prospects in return. So, but the Astros have been pretty good. It kind of depends on Lance McCullers and Jake Odorizzi, how they do as far as their recovery, getting back to the rehab. There we go. Not recovery, rehab. But to get where they need to be as far as getting back to pitching. So the pitching rotation is going to change soon. It's a good problem to have if you're the Astros, but we're going to see what kind of production are we going to get from Lance McCullers? What kind of production are we going to get from Jake Odorizzi? Will Jose Urquidy get back and bounce back and hopefully get back on track? That's another key thing that I really think the Astros need to get back to doing soon. But I mean, for the most part, I mean, sitting there in first place right now, 36-21 in 0-56 games, first place, second best overall record in the American League behind the Yankees. So yeah, a lot of great things going on with the Astros right now.
All right, guys, that's going to wrap up this Twitter space for Thursday. The Astros have the day off, so they will return. There we go. Got to spit that out there. They will return on Friday as they kick off a weekend series against the Miami Marlins there at Minute Maid Park. So a lot of things, like I mentioned, the Astros need to do to get, still need to get better. They still need to make I believe some key moves here as we get closer to that trade deadline, right? So that's going to be the target date for the Astros. See where they're at, so they can assess, and then go from there. Like I mentioned, Martin Maldonado, Jason Castro, Alex Bregman, Yuli Gurriel. Those guys need to kind of pick up a little bit more of the production. You can't really put it all on, Jeremy Pena and Jose Altuve, Michael Brantley, and even Kyle Tucker. You can't put it on those guys. 1 through 9 needs to be productive, and if you want to get back and win the World Series. So, but we'll see what happens with the Astros. That's just kind of what I wanted to do on this live Twitter space. But you can follow this show on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Texas Baseball Report. If you ever have any questions you want to call in, that number is 210-263-3253. Call and leave a voicemail. We'll do a mailbag. We'll get your questions answered on the air. And you can follow me on Twitter at RickGriffin3 as well. Try to do a little bit more of these Twitter spaces at least once a month. That way to kind of get a little bit more interaction with everybody and kind of get your thoughts and see how the team is doing. Even the Rangers will get one on the Rangers soon. We'll get a couple guys that CJ Bierman from the Rangers Report podcast. He was on just a few right before the season started. So we'll kind of do a little bit more of that as well. Kind of get a little bit more diverse with our teams, and that way it's not so focused on the Astros. But hey, the Astros are the team in the American League West right now, sitting there at 36-21, like I mentioned. So first place. But that's going to do it for this episode. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in to the live Twitter space. We'll get back to doing those here pretty soon. So that's going to do it. Take care, guys.